the income potential behind us, because we're a publicly traded company on NASDAQ, so you can look up our income disclosure report. We're able to prove the science because all the peer-reviewed studies that are published in the National Institutes of Health. And now I'm going to prove to you the timing and the urgency of what's going to happen in this company with or without any of us. So that said, every company goes through this major growth curve. This is your ground floor phase, where that's where companies go through their lawsuits, their recalls, all the garbage. And if everything adds up correctly, things line up, critical mass explodes. Critical mass where a company experiences 80% of their total growth. 80% of their total growth happens in critical mass. And then after the mass explosion, something called stabilization begins. That's where you see about 2 to 7% growth. Stabilization is where 99% of people get approached with opportunity at. Less than 1% ever get approached with opportunity down here to experience this critical mass. If someone experiences this critical mass, this changes generations. So with that said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare a company called Nu Skin with Lifevantage to show you exactly where we're at, a side-by-side comparison. Nu Skin is also a publicly traded company on NASDAQ. Nu Skin today sits at about $2 billion a year in sales. They're in roughly 98 countries. They're all over the world. Nu Skin started back in the early 1980s. From the early 1980s to about 1989, they went through their ground floor. That ground floor means their lawsuits, their recalls, the long wait lines on the call lines, just all the garbage starting company goes through. But then finally in 1989, everything lined up for Nu Skin. Everything lined up, and this triggered off. Critical mass. When critical mass triggered off, the company was doing $4 million a month in sales. $4 million a month in sales. They were open up in 10 countries. And they had been involved for less than 8 years. So it took them less than 8 years to finally make $4 million a month. When critical mass triggered off, 2 years later, by 1991, 2 years later, the company was doing $52 million per month in sales. How'd you like to experience that type of growth curve? A lot of people were. One couple, I'm going to not say their name, but refer to them as Couple A. They got involved in the beginnings of Nu Skin, like we are with Lifevantage. This couple was making consistently about $5,000 per month. After this whole critical mass exploded, that couple went from $5,000 a month in income to $140,000 per month. That's per month in income. That happens one time. You miss it, you're done. You can still get involved in companies when they're up here, like Nu Skin, but you're not going to see that type of growth. That growth happens one time. You miss it, you're done. So now let me show you a side-by-side comparison with Lifevantage. So Lifevantage, we're also traded on NASDAQ. And if you look it up, you'll find out we started network marketing in 2009. From 2009 to date, it's 2017. It means right now, we have been involved for 8 years. Right now, Lifevantage is open in 10 countries. And right now, Lifevantage just closed out right around $200 million last year. Which if you do the math, that's more than $4 million a month. But what's so unique about our product is on average, 80% of the total product consumed, they're consumed by customers. Only 20% on average is consumed by distributors. In other words, the product's good. So who builds a business, distributors or customers? Distributors. So if you take 20% of 200 million, that breaks it down to about $3.6 million per month. So now let me show you a comparison. 8 years, 8 years, 10 markets, 10 markets, 4 million, 3.6 million. And there's one other term. That term is called a hyper-enroller. A hyper-enroller is someone that assigned 10 people into a company. Every time the hyper-enroller rate hits 3%, that's an indicator people can use before a company goes into critical mass. 3%. This 3% has triggered off a lot of different companies. if you look at our numbers today, Lifevantage is sitting at about a 2.6% hyper-enroller rate. So one more time I want to point out. 8 years, 10 countries, 4 million, 3.6 million, 3%, 2.6%. We're positioned right here. So 3 years ago, some of my friends, they wanted to wait. They wanted to wait to see how I did. They wanted to wait to save up the money. They wanted to wait to try the product. They wanted to wait. 3 years later, they are still complaining about their life. Still complaining about the job. I'm not. I went out and built it. They're still my friends. But they're now wanting to join me. And they're lucky because 3 years ago, they had the luxury to wait. 3 years and we don't. I don't know if we have 12 months. I honestly don't know if we have 30 days. But what I do know is I know we're positioned right there. And so when I'm explaining the risk in this company, it's like this. If you see this massive wall coming at you, this massive wave coming at you, you can see what's going to take place. In order to catch that wave coming at you, what do you have to do? You have to paddle. You have to paddle. If you paddle, the wave takes you from the ocean completely into the shore, like couple A, 5 grand to 140 grand. But if someone wants to sit back and they want to wait, that wave's going to pass them. It's not waiting. This thing's going to happen with or without you, with or without me. And I say that because Forbes magazine rated Lifevantage number 5 in the USA for the best return on company. They rated us number 1 in the state of Utah for the best return on company. We saw a 253% increase last year. That was an article published by Forbes. So is it fair to say this is going to trigger off with or without us? Yes. And so if someone happens to miss this, they have to wait for the next one. But here's what I was told 2 years ago. I was told people get two once-in-a-lifetime opportunities in their life. Most people don't recognize either one. You get one before the age of 40 and one after the age of 40. So if someone happens to miss everything lining up perfectly, they happen to miss it, they have to wait for the next one. But honestly, ask yourself, what is the odds of the next one coming around to where you have a product like Protandim? Third-party peer-reviewed studies that are published. What's the odds of that? What's the odds of where you have a compensation plan that pays it like we pay out? We're halfway through the ranks of the company. This company is replacing the average American household income. What's the odds of that taking place? On top of that, what's the odds of the mentorship coming together to where you have access to the people that are making 100 grand a year to 100 grand a month, willing to guide you through this process? On top of that, what's the odds of you knowing the right person at the right time to position you right here? What's the odds of all this coming together? Probably not going to happen again. So when I sit down and talk with someone, I say, what's the risk? $1,250. You get $1,300 back in the products to get your family on. You get the tax write-offs. But the biggest thing is you get the potential to capture what's going to take place. You get the potential to not miss out on a single bit of this growth. You get that chance. But if someone doesn't invest, that's where I think is riskier. Because if someone doesn't invest, what's the chance of capturing what's happening? None. Because they don't invest, they don't take a chance. So with that said, I am so excited you guys are looking at this. The thing is you're sitting in front of an opportunity, but that opportunity is only going to change over the next 12 months. So I was sitting and looking at this. Just look at how things are adding up. I appreciate your guys' time. Talk to you later.